Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Startup Talk. And today we're talking about how to never give up, keep rising up, and always overcome. Now, life has challenges for every one of us, but you define how to face them, if they will stop you or will be your next step to greatness. So if you're ready to never give up, keep rising, and always overcome, then today's episode is for you. We'll talk about the importance of asking the right questions, how to manifest your desires, and how temporary defeats can have the seeds to lasting success. And joining me for this today is EA Csolkovits. He is the founder of Givers University, through which he teaches others about givers and takers. And through this, providing increased happiness, freedom, and greatness through personal, business, social, and family development. He's the author of The Giver's Mindset, The Giver's Lifestyle, and The Giver's Lifelong Learning of the Gift to Be Great book series. And his story is so inspirational, I could listen to him talk for hours. So I'm just really happy to have him on the show here today. Now, if you're new to the show, welcome. My name is Saskia, and I help you be the extraordinary entrepreneur you're meant to be. And one way that I do this is by hosting Startup Talk. Every 2 weeks, I host a new guest and will cover a topic that will help you grow as an entrepreneur and start up or level up your business. And in the other weeks, I share tips and tricks to help you start your business as well. So if you want to turn your passion into a thriving business, make sure to subscribe to the Entrepreneur Suite and share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know your inspirational story about givers and takers. Now, I hope you're ready, because we're going to start the show. Hey everyone, today I am joined by EA Csolkovits, who is here to talk about how to never give up, keep rising up, and always overcome. So let's give a warm welcome to EA.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on your great podcast, and look forward to being able to not only share some great information with you, but hopefully some great usable information for your listeners as well. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's so great to have you on the show. I've really been looking forward to this talk about what makes a giver, and how to foster giver-ness, if you can call it like that. So I'm really happy to have you on the show. So you're the founder of Givers University. How did that came to be?
Well, if I can share a couple stories with you on really sort of dating back, right after time began. No, just kidding. Not that time. And I should warn your listeners, I'll never say anything in 10 minutes. If I can say it in 20, so they should be ready. So certainly it really does date back quite a bit. I'm in the United States. I know you're in the Netherlands, and it's so great, by the way, because yesterday I talked literally with someone. I did an interview in Poland, in Germany, and Canada, all in the same day. And I thought, man, that would have taken me a month and a half to do that same thing, 5-10 years ago. And now in one day, here I am, and today with you in Netherlands. How spectacular. That's awesome.
How amazing is that? I know, right? It's amazing how many people you can connect with, but also you think about if you could travel that and just, check out their local culture and stuff. And it's like, no, it's amazing that you can connect with so many amazing people. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And there's the double-edged sword, right? Because we missed the part of being able to get a feel for the area.
We'll get there again.
We sure will. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm in Michigan now, but born and raised in the Chicago area. And my father was a milkman, and I'm 65 years old now. So back then, when I was 5 years old, I would help my father on the milk route. And he had a one-man operation. He had his own route. It was a dairy called Twin Oaks Dairy. And he would deliver milk. He was a milkman, right? And what was amazing was everyone had a box outside their house, and that was the milkman box. And what was amazing was there's always money in it. And no one ever touched the money. I cannot recall there was not one time where there was ever money missing. Certainly a little different times than today, but there was always like a note in there for whether they wanted eggs and milk and juice, that kind of thing, because we delivered that, and then the money. And so at 5 years old, that was sort of my first sort of experience in learning by watching my father, who he was just the one person, had his one route, right? But I remember he didn't punch a time clock. He didn't have someone telling him, you got to go do this. You know, he got up in the morning and he went to work, and there was no one over his shoulder telling him to do it. And then I remember him saying so many times, well, if we work real hard and we get done early, we're done early for the day. So I guess that made me sort of plant a little bit of maybe a seed in my mind, about self-starting and being a self-starter and not having to have someone over your shoulder, because I watched my dad do it. And then at the ripe old age of 16, I took my first step towards success, and I became a janitor. Now, I didn't mind being a janitor because business was always picking up. What? Anyway, so here I was.
Oh my God, that took a second.
I usually, when I tell something humorous, I usually have to start laughing first to bail the other person out, to say, let them know, okay, it's okay to laugh. I might have just said something funny. And I'm okay if they laugh at me instead of with me. That's okay too.
No, it was just very unexpected and funny. Business was always picking up. I was like, why business always picking up? Oh, wait. Bear with me here. It's been a long day.
For sure. So, and I was able to be insured. It's called bonded in the United States. And that allowed me to be able to go into places that had expensive equipment. So if my floor buffer went in one direction or another and hit something, the insurance company would pay for it, right? Well, because of that, I was also able to be in some very expensive homes and clean them as well, because of accounts our janitorial service had. It wasn't my janitorial service. I worked for someone else. And so at 16 years old, I was in a house. And when I say the lady's name, it won't mean anything to you until I make the reference of the movie. I was in a home every single Wednesday cleaning her house. It was $1 million home. And the lady's name was June Martino. Now, the name won't mean anything to you unless you've seen the movie that was out a couple of years back. It's still on streaming today and probably will be for years, because it's actually a pretty good movie. And it's called The Founder. It's about McDonald's, and it's about Ray Kroc. Right?
Yeah, I know that one.
Okay. Oh, you did see it. Okay.
It's
then
good.
You'll appreciate some of the references then. So Michael Keaton plays Ray Kroc, right? And I lived in the Oak Brook area most of my life. So that was where the world headquarters for McDonald's was. So I witnessed the whole McDonald's phenomenon during my lifetime. I lived right there, right? I mean, literally, I could look out the window and see the world headquarters for McDonald's. And so I watched this whole thing happen. I witnessed it through my lifetime, during my lifetime. And in the movie, and first of all, the movie is very, Hollywood twist, drama,
Of course.
Yeah. It has events in there that certainly are accurate events, but the way they're portrayed aren't exactly, it's all Hollywood twist. But there are many events that did actually happen. So Michael Keaton, who plays Ray Kroc, he's talking with a lady outside his office all the time. He says, June this, June this, June this. That lady is the house who I cleaned.
Oh, wow.
So that was June Martino. And she had, when I met her, I was 16 years old, and she had the third most controlling stock in McDonald's. She was an icon in the area, and
I can imagine.
Yeah. So, so here I am in her home, and I'm, my job as the janitor, because she had full-time maid and butler. I had to clean the swimming pool and to clean the garage. And, and I loved cleaning the garage because I had to pull out the Rolls Royce. And I
that's tough work right there.
Oh yeah. I was sitting in a car that was worth 10 lifetimes of my income. Right. So here I am in a Rolls Royce, and personally, I'm driving every day a Rolls Canardly, which really is a car that rolls down one hill and can hardly make it up the next. So I'm driving a Rolls Canardly, and I'm sitting in this Rolls Royce and think, man, this is just incredible. Now, this was what was really interesting about this experience. That was that I had always thought to that point in my life that to be successful and prosperous, you had to be a jerk. You had to be an idiot. You had to push people down. You had to take advantage of people. You had to be able to say, well, it's just business. You didn't care what you did to them. And I don't know where that notion came from, but I had it. And it was a preconceived notion. And here I am in June Martino's house. She is so the opposite. It's not even funny. In fact, it's even shocking to me. I thought, man, this lady, I mean, she's, I don't know. I'm not able to count how many zeros she is worth using my fingers and toes, but she's happy. She's approachable. She's never condescending to any of her help. You know, and if I was buffing the floor and I'm looking down at the floor and she walked through the room and I didn't see her because I was looking down, she would say hi to me first. I mean, just very like, I mean, just very approachable. And that astonished me because I thought, man, this is, you know, she's not like this superhuman. She's not like an alien, and I don't see any powers or anything else. She's just like a really nice lady. And that whole thing was just astonishing to me that here she is, you know, so wealthy and prosperous, but yet nothing the way I thought these people were. And that intrigued me. So one day, you know, and she's an icon in the area at this point, right? Everyone knew who June Martino was, for sure. And so one day I could tell she was in an extra good mood. So I thought, this is it. This is the day. So I mustered up all the strength that a snot-nosed 16-year-old can muster up. And I went up to her and I said, hi, June. And she said, hi. I mean, very approachable. It was always astonishing to me. And I said, can I ask you a question? She said, sure. I said, could you tell me about it? And she like looked at me and said, well, what? And I said, well, the whole McDonald's thing. I'm not kidding. She put her arm around me, brought me in the kitchen, and told me the entire story. I'd asked her in the morning.
The whole McDonald's thing.
Yeah, I asked her in the morning, and the entire day we sat in the kitchen. She even had the maids and butler bringing us food so she could keep in the kitchen, keep telling me the story. And I kept thinking, man,
that's amazing.
This is like, I'm a 16-year-old kid, you know, and I'm intimidated by this woman, you know, and just all this wealth and everything around her. And here she is, just I could think, is there anyone else she's talking to? There's no way she's, you know, doing this with me, right? Telling me the whole story. So she started out, and in the movie, you'll remember this. She worked for Ray when he was a milkshake mixer salesman, you know, and that's how he met the McDonald's brothers, right? Because they put in this big order and they were going through a lot of cups. She told me that whole story because she worked for Ray before he met the brothers, right? And then all the way through, step by step, play by play, over hours, up to the very minute we're sitting in the kitchen and everything in between. And I think, wow, this is extraordinary. So there's one time in the movie, and you'll remember this part. There was a time where June Martino goes to Ray, Michael Keaton, and says, we don't have any money. We're out of money. There's no money left. And that causes him to call the brothers, and they have an argument on the phone. I'm not getting enough percentage, right? And that was a little drama stuff that Hollywood put in. But the event certainly did happen. There was no money. So she told me that event decades before the movie came out, that exact event. And she said, Ray and I made an agreement that he wouldn't pay me any money, which was okay because there was no money anyway. So I was working for free. There was no money. And he paid me in worth less than zero company stock. And he agreed to take the phone calls from my bill collectors. When they would call and want money, he took the phone calls so they wouldn't hassle me. And so I just looked at her and I said, June, I'm a janitor. I work paycheck to paycheck, Friday to Friday. If I don't get paid on Friday, I'm not showing on Saturday. I need that paycheck. Why did you do it? I'm not kidding. She sat back in her chair, stared at me, did this eye lock on me, and I could tell she just left the room, even though she's staring at me, because I had just asked her a question no one had ever asked her before. Everyone wanted to know what happened with McDonald's. What happened with that? No one ever wanted to know why. So I just asked her, why did you do it? And for like 10 seconds, she's staring at me and with this eye lock, but she's not there. I could tell she's not there. And me, you know, I'm thinking, I'm looking around, because she's like staring right at me, right? But she's not even, I could tell she's not home, right? And then she spoke, and the way I remember so vividly what she said and the way she said it, that it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And I also remember my immediate mental thought the moment she said what she said. So when I said, June, why'd you do it? Why'd you work for nothing? No pay, no money. When she answered, she said, because I believed in Ray. And the way she said it, and then my very first thought was, that's it. That's the answer. I need a Ray Kroc. I need someone that can do, because Ray obviously brought her under her wing. He taught her everything. Didn't turn out too bad for her. I'm in her $1 million home, and that's what I need. I need a Ray Kroc. I need to find my Ray Kroc. So I threw it out there. I literally, ignorantly, in a puritanical sense, and impetuously, I just threw the question out there, like in the universe, if you will. Where's my Ray Kroc? I know he's out there somewhere. That's all I did. I just threw that question out there. And I'll never forget then, it wasn't even like 2 or 3 months later, still at the janitorial service, same one. And then it's at night. I've already punched out. I'm talking to the owner of the company, Jerry. And so the phone rings. A couple minutes later, he hangs up the phone. He said, well, that was some guy. He's in from Detroit. Now, still in Chicago, obviously. And the janitorial service was in a place called Addison, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago as well. And so we're sitting there, and he was a friend of the family. So I'm just sort of talking with him after, I was done working. And it was only him and I there. So after he hung up the phone, he said, well, some guy's in from Detroit. He's opening a diamond store. He wants to see some carpeting. He has to see it tonight because he's going back to Detroit tomorrow. And I said, okay, what's that got to do with me? He said, I need you to go. I said, I'm not going. Jerry, I'm not going. I'm exhausted. I've been cleaning all day long. There's nothing left, man. I'm spent. There's no energy left.
And so this was you going to sell carpets?
Yeah, well, at this point, that's what my boss was trying to get me to do.
Okay,
I didn't know how to sell carpet, right? So, and that was the next no I gave him, because the first time I just said, no, I'm not going. I'm tired. He said, man, I know you need to go and show him this carpeting. I said, Jerry, I don't know anything about carpeting. I can clean it. I can shampoo it. I know how to do that. I don't know how to measure and bid out a carpet job. He said, I'll tell you what. And he gave me one of these wheels, and he said, you walk this way on the room and you walk that way in the room, and call me on the phone and I'll quote it for you. I said, no, Jerry, I'm not going. This is the third time I said no. And I said, no, I'm not going. He said, I'll tell you what. If you go, I'll give you your pick of any Saturday off you want. Now,
we are talking.
Yeah, no, I said, now for a janitor, that's a huge negotiation chip, because we work when businesses are closed, right? We're cleaning. So Saturday morning to night, we're cleaning all day. So I repeated it back to him because I wanted to make sure my ears weren't tricking me. And I said, any Saturday I want off? And he looked at me and he said, any Saturday. I said, okay, Jerry, I'll go. Right. So I put some samples in the car. And now, to set the stage for your listeners, I'm physically exhausted. I've said no 3 times already. I don't want to go. I'm not doing it as a favor for my boss. I don't care about his janitorial service. And I'm going to meet this guy from Detroit. Detroit? Seriously? Who wants to meet anyone from Detroit, right? So all this going through my head. There was only one reason I'm going. Only one reason. You'd already know what that reason is. It's the Saturday.
It's a Saturday. Yeah. What's in it for you, right? Yeah.
That's it. It's the only reason, right? Little do I know, I'm getting ready to meet the man that will change the trajectory of my life forever. I'm getting ready to meet, unbeknownst to me, my Ray Kroc. The one I had asked for, right?
You asked the universe, and the universe delivered.
It's exactly what happened, and here I am saying no to it over and over and over again, right? And it's exactly what I asked for. So I show up at this place, and have you ever had the feeling where you met someone and you almost feel like you've already known them before, like you're so comfortable with them? Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like they're already sisters or brothers or family, it's like, I don't even know you, but I know you.
Exactly. And it was that kind of thing. And we talked about everything for like a couple of hours. The carpeting was a no sale because he wanted something real plush for a diamond store, and we just had commercial office furniture. So we didn't have the right stuff for him. So, but we talked for a couple of hours about anything and everything. So as I'm leaving, I'm putting the samples in the car, and he offers me a job. I say no again. I said, no, I'm all set.
I have a job.
I don't know anything about diamonds. And he said, well, I'll teach you. And I said, I'm telling you, no, I don't know anything about diamonds. I don't even know where to begin. I said, all I know about diamonds.
Wait. So you were a janitor and you got a job offer to work in a diamond store. And you're like, nah, I don't want to do the diamond store.
Exactly. I don't even know what to do. I don't know anything about. I said, I only know 2 things about diamonds. One, they're expensive. And 2, someday a woman's going to ask me for one. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. I don't know anything else about him. He said, I'll teach you. And I said, no. So I've said no like 5 times already through this whole day, right? And he's the guy I've asked for, right? And I keep saying
There's
no to
your
him.
Ray Kroc, but you don't know it's your Ray Kroc.
I
When
don't
do
know.
you know it's your Ray Kroc? You know.
I'll tell you. So anyway, so as I'm walking out the door, he hooked me with the phrase. And I didn't know at that point that I really genuinely was talking to a genius in the truest sense, not the IQ genius baloney, because I've always believed that's baloney, you know, and just because someone knows something doesn't mean they know how to apply it. And I'll take the person who knows how to apply something any day of the week, right? I've met a lot of educated idiots in my life, and I mean, you know, I mean, really educated idiots. All this education. Yes. All this education don't know anything to do with it. Don't know how to apply any of it, you know, but they know everything, right? So, you know, and I usually exit as soon as I feel that's the way they are, you know, I'm out of there. So here I am, a true genius. And I mean in human engineering, being able to look at someone, ask them a few questions, size them up, and be right on the money with it, right? And a genius in that way. And so he knew what he was about ready to say was going to grind me. So as we were leaving, I'm leaving. I've said no like 5 times. Getting ready to say no the 6th time. And as I'm walking out the door, he says, what do you have to lose? You can always go back being a janitor. And I thought, no, I'm all set. People will always make a mess and I can always clean it up. I can get a job anywhere. 6th time I've said no.
He's
and
not
I leave.
wrong, you know. He's not wrong.
Yeah, for sure. And he knew that would get me. He knew it. So as I was leaving, I'm driving home now, and this is nighttime, right? The call came to the janitorial service at night. So we're pushing midnight already. So I'm driving in the car halfway home, and it's bugging me. I'm thinking, you know, he's right. You know, I can always go back being a janitor. And I don't know anything about diamonds, but he said he'd teach me. And it's just playing with my head the whole time. And he knew it would.
Yeah, it gets in your head, you know, it starts marinating.
It's exactly what happened. This one started marinating, growing, and became Jumanji in my head, you know? So, I mean, it was just like going, yeah, exactly. So I got halfway home and I thought, that's it. I'm going to turn around and see exactly. I mean, like I'm almost not mad, but a little peeved. Like I'm going to find out exactly what he meant by that, right? So I turned the car around and I thought, he's probably gone. He's going to leave in the morning. It's almost midnight. He was still there. I said, okay, what do you have in mind? So he offers me the job. And for the next 4 months, I got in the car at 4 a.m, Friday night, Saturday morning, right? 4 a.m, drove 301 miles. I still remember the exact mileage, 301 miles from Chicago to Detroit.
How long of a drive is that?
6 hours back then it was 6 hours.
Yeah,
So,
I know for an American that's like, you know, like the typical Saturday, but here in the Netherlands, you're on a different side of the country, you know, you'd be from the south all the way to the north.
I wish we had like, you know, it'd been nice if we'd been like on the Autobahn. I could have been there in 2 minutes. But anyway, so right. So it was like 6 hour drive. And so I drove 6 hours to get there, had a 6-hour meeting with him, and then got back in the car and drove 6 hours back. Did that all in one day for 4 months in a row and never missed a weekend. And the reason why was I realized the following. I didn't even know what I didn't know. I knew this man was wealthy. I knew he, you know, I wanted to be rich and happy, not realizing I even had that backwards, because we really should be happy and then rich. But at 16 years old, I'm about the money, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, give me the money. You know, show me the money.
Give me money, then I'll be happy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And if I could only have all the money, I'd be happy. You know, right? That whole thought process. So, and I could tell he was very wealthy. I mean, it was very apparent, and he was very happy. So, I for 6 hours on the way up there, I would think of all the questions I would ask him. He had to feel like someone was shooting him with a machine gun when I was firing those questions. For 6 hours nonstop, it was like boom, 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 you know, and then all the way home, I would think about all the answers and ponder the answers and what he said and why he said that. And so for 4 months solid. So the first thing I share with your listeners, because here I was saying no over and over and over again to this insignificant event where I'm going to show some carpeting to a guy, and I'm doing this because I'm going to get a Saturday off, right? So I share with your listeners, number one, be observant. Be aware of those times in your life that will seem so insignificant and small on the edge of a dime, that will seem so small. but are about ready to be the point that manifests into one of the greatest and biggest things in your life. So don't discount those small little moments that could be so impactful in ways we're not even able to see. As it was with me, I kept saying no over and over again to the very thing I asked for, the very person. And he
Absolutely.
became the father I never had, even though I have a father. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to chime in on that,
yeah, please
if that's
chime,
really
chime,
well.
chime, chime.
If I completely agree with that. It's the small moments that get it started. If I look at some big initiatives that I did, big projects, stuff that really fired me up, it all just started with something small, with me not being serious in a serious situation, or being too serious in a not so serious situation, or just meeting someone, having an idea, and before you know it, you're making this whole thing, and it's growing and it's growing, and it's just driving you, and you think like, wow, that all because that one moment. So yeah, I totally agree. Be observant.
Exactly right. And know that those moments can have out there. And one of the things my business mentor taught me, which became a great life lesson, I ignorantly stumbled upon and did one right thing. And when I say I stumbled upon it, is I simply asked the right question. And my business mentor always said, he said, don't worry about the answers. He says, people live backwards. He said, and he said, they're always so concerned and consumed with getting the right answer. And he says, the answers are all there. They always have been. They always will be. He said, the answer's already there. He said, most people are not happy. They're not exceptional. They don't have prosperous lives because they're asking the wrong questions. He said, it's not about the answer, it's about the question. He said, our lives become self-fulfilling prophecies. And when we ask these questions and when we believe in the question, our life then begins to fulfill by giving us an answer to that. And I ignorantly, impetuously threw out there, where's my Ray Kroc? He's got to be out there somewhere. I didn't say I'll never meet a Ray Kroc. See, because then my life would have begun answering why I would never find that Ray Kroc and I would never find him. Right?
And you were looking for the Ray Kroc. That was your question. So with asking the right question, you mean asking the question in terms of possibilities. Think in how can the universe serve you, help you achieve your goals, and not how can you prove yourself that you not can achieve your goals, right?
Exactly, because we really are. Our lives do become the equivalent of self-fulfilling prophecies, and it's a result of many of those questions we have asked ourselves, appropriately or inappropriately. It's like the person keeps saying, and as I say these things, I have to rewire them even in my mind because I won't believe them for a second. But the person says, "How come I never meet the right people? How come I can't be rich? How come?" And when they ask those questions, their life begins to give them the answer on why they can't be rich,
Yeah.
why they won't meet the right people, and they're going to keep not meeting the right people. So he taught me to begin to reframe and relabel and begin to ask the right questions and think about the words. He said over and over, he drilled this in me. You win or lose with the words you choose. And he said, and don't think those words are just the ones you speak. He said, we have, and by the way, statistically, it's been proven, we have over 1,000 conversations in our own head with ourselves every day. And those conversations have a big impact on what happens in our life, and we don't even realize it. Things manifest all around us because of those little conversations. Now, what I don't like is in my own mind when I go, huh? That really gets me. I said, what? Huh? What was that? You got to be kidding me. So, so those conversations, he taught me to pay attention to those things, and the beginning of the discernment, if you will, through all of that. And to finish the story with my business mentor, and I share with your listeners, get a mentor. If you don't have one, get one. This podcast that they're listening to right now, this is a form of mentorship. They should share this podcast with others, but also follow and subscribe so that they can get new information and new things that will help them in their life. And to finish up the story with my business mentor, when I was 19, I already known him for a couple of years, I asked him the question, the big question. I said, Sam, will you teach me everything? His name was Sam Robbins. I said, everything. Don't hold back. I want to know it all. Will you teach me everything? And he said, yes, I will. But I want one thing from you. I'm going to let you know whatever he said next, I was going to say yes. It didn't matter. I was in yes mode already, right? He said, this is what I want from you. He said, I'll teach you all of it, but I want one thing. When the time is right, and you will know that time, I want you to teach as many other people as possible everything that I taught you. And so at the ripe old age of 19, I made a vow. I made an oath. I made a commitment that I would do just that. And even today, that has manifested as what now is known as Givers University.
That is amazing. Wow, that is quite a story already there. Wow. That was just the intro question. Can you imagine?
Yeah, we're just getting warmed up.
We're just getting warmed up.
Well, you said we were going to go 30 to 45 minutes. I thought, man, after we say my last name, that's only going to give us like 2 minutes. Anyway, so so now all of the things with Givers University and all the things we teach are as a direct result of me saying no 6 times and finally getting peeved enough in the car that I turned around and said, all right, what do you have in mind?
Yeah.
And then look at all the things. But I can share with your listeners that, number one, a part of never giving up is have the desire. Part of rising up is have the ability to say, I know I can take just one more step. And I want to mention that for a minute, the importance of that one more step. I was very blessed. I had a radio talk show and I interviewed 1,000 millionaires in 2 years. 1,000 millionaires over a 2-year time period.
Where do you even find 1,000 millionaires in a 2 years time period?
No, I had.
Did you have a black book or something?
No, well, I actually had full-time people that we called them show screeners, and they would go out and seek out these people and book them on the show. And so, it was Monday through Friday. I had a show, and the first year was live, and the second year we did the show and put the commercials and everything else. But the first year was live, and there was 20-minute segments, and millionaires all the way through. They had to be a millionaire to be on the show, etc. So for 2 years, and one of the best parts was I was able to ask them questions off the air, which I personally was very interested in. So it was a great education. And a lot of that information then got put into Givers University and the things we teach. But to the point of, I will keep rising up, of I'll never give up, I'll keep rising up, and I'll overcome. That middle segment there, I will keep rising up. I can share with you every one of those 1,000 people, not some of them, not one or two of them, not a few of them, all, I emphasize, all of them had a story when everything told them to stop. Everything told them, everything around them, everyone they knew around them told them to throw in the towel. Don't take the extra step, give up. Every one of them had that story. In fact, some of them, and you got to remember, these people didn't even know each other because they were from all over the place. And the interviews are different times. So I know they didn't share notes. And they even said the following phrase almost with the same words. Some of them even said, do you know I took the next step out of curiosity to see what else could possibly go wrong? Because I wanted to see if I missed anything.
Wait, because it's not what I'm taking the next step just out of curiosity what can go right, but I'm taking the next step out of curiosity of what else can go wrong.
Yeah, they said, I felt like there's no way I could have missed anything because everything's going wrong. So
everything's going wrong. Let's do something else as well.
Yeah. I mean, so they said, I just took the next step out of curiosity. There has to be something else that can go wrong. I'm just curious because I don't even know what that would be. And they said it didn't even make sense. But they did take the next step. And when they took the next step, those same people also said the same thing. A strange thing started to happen. When I did that next step, or as we say, when they rose up and took that next step, it was like temporary defeat exited their life and went to someone else's life and tried to screw up their life. And now everything in this person's life that did the next step, they said it was almost weirdly easy. how things started they seemed to fall into place. They actually connected, went into place. And all of a sudden, everything just like took on a life of its own. And they said it was astonishing to me. And I could tell they still had this astonished look on their face, like, I don't even know how it even happened, And these are millionaires, and these are CEOs and presidents of companies, all with the same story. And I thought, that really is something. So the importance of rising up and part of that has to do with one of the things my business mentor taught me to reframe. He said, get rid of the word failure, throw it out of your life. Do not say it. Get it out of your vernacular. He said, the word failure sounds too eternal. He said, it has an eternal ring to it. He said, supplant that word with temporary defeat.
Temporary defeat. But, well, let me try, or I want to, the thing is this. So in everyone's life, you come in a moment where you think like, okay, everything is just falling down. I'm trying to build something up and it's just happening. And as I understand from you, EA, it's about rising up again. It's about taking that next step, even if it's just to see what else can go wrong. But how do you take a next step? How do you take a next step when your whole world is falling down? When you're in that, not failure, but temporary defeat, how do you know I'm going to take that next step anyway? Because I can imagine you fall into this place, this mental space, where you're like, well, let's just give up. How do you not give up?
That's a great question. And part of the not giving up part is, again, having to do with that conversation we have in our own head. That one of those 1,000 conversations, and how we're labeling it and how we're interpreting what that event is. One of the things my business mentor also taught me was every, not some, every adversity carries with it the seeds of an equal or a greater benefit. I say that again, every adversity, not some of them, every adversity. So that also means every temporary defeat. Every adversity carries with it the seed of equal or greater benefits. And he said, as wisdom in my life begins to trade places with ignorance and impetuousism as a youngster, and he said, as you begin to see this more and more, and the next thing I'm going to say is going to bake your listener's noodle when I say this. When I say this, they're going to say, this guy's off his rocker. When they really begin to understand what temporary defeat means, and that it really truly carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Once we move aside the leaves and we find those seeds, and then we realize it's those seeds that help us grow to the next step, to the next level, and we needed those seeds. Without them, we couldn't have taken the next step. So here's the part that will bake their noodles when they hear this. When we really understand temporary defeat, we will begin to welcome and embrace it. That will bake someone's noodle when they hear it. You say, how in the world can you embrace defeat? How can you welcome it? Because when you have the understanding and the clarity that the seeds are there already. The seeds you needed to go to the next step, the seeds we need to go to the next step and the next step and the next step, they're there already. It's up to us to brush aside the leaves and find them. They're there. And so when that's there and we frame it that way in our minds, it's much easier to rise up because we know what we need is already there automatically.
Yeah, we know that the solution is already there. Do you have a personal example of that?
Man, I got to tell you, I've probably won every single day of my life. I mean, I just...
then this is an easy question.
Exactly. Where do you want to begin? I can share with you, and each one of them is, a longer story, but I'll share with you that there was 3 major temporary defeats in my lifetime. I was blessed with very, huge amounts of success at early ages, and I was very blessed in those ways. And money certainly can flow into our lives and out of our lives just as fast. And I had 3 major temporary defeats, and each one of those temporary defeats caused me to write a book so that my butt wasn't in that place again. And those books have influenced and helped a lot of other people because I'm brutally transparent with the mistakes I made and the things that I did so that other people can learn by my mistakes. and begin to see, and then they begin to recognize, okay, that's how it is. I can reframe that. And yeah, there's a seed. There's that thing that looked like adversity, but in fact, it really wasn't adversity. Cliches are cliches, not
For a
always,
reason.
but many times, but because they're true. Not always, but many times, right?
Oftentimes. Yeah.
Yeah, oftentimes for sure. And one of them is, it is darkest before the dawn. And in our lives is that way too. Sometimes when it just looks like so dark, you're not able to see, there's no light anywhere. But then all of a sudden, there's that first glimmer, So I can share with you, there's been 3 times. Each one of them is, a lengthy story. And, and as you can tell, to the chagrin of your listeners, I don't mind telling a story that goes on and on, So
we have time. We have time.
Yeah,
I know for the listeners, I always say at the beginning of the show, like, hey, let's aim for 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But I also always say, but if we're in a good flow, we're going to go flowing. So
I got it.
no way.
So each one of these caused me to write a book, and that series of 3 books. The first one's called The Giver's Mindset, because that temporary defeat in life had directly impacted how I thought, and there was things I needed to think differently. So in that course, which we have at Givers University called The Giver's Mindset, we teach how givers think and how takers think and how they're different. My second temporary defeat.
One thing, just really quick. What's a giver? What's a taker? Is it?
Great question. And it has to do with really what we teach within Givers University. And first of all, I want to mention your listeners. We love everybody. We love everybody. I say that emphatically. And we teach how to separate the person who we love from their deeds, which we may not love. And we teach people how to separate those, and we call it discernment. In a world today where we have businesses opening and closing faster than ever before, we have products being antiquated by new products overnight. What do we have left? Well, the answer is our relationships. And no one's teaching us how to discern in our relationships. I'm a self-improvement person. I can tell that you're a self-improvement person. I'm sure many of your listeners are. I like it. I'm into it. I love it. But no one's teaching us, except at Givers University now, no one's teaching us, what about the other guy? What if he's not doing it right? What should I do about that? Exactly. So we teach people how to discern by watching what they actually do, not broad swaths of innocuous, nebulous information where you say, well, that sounded really good. What do I do with that now? We've sifted it all the way down to the actual deeds. These are the things you watch them do. You'll see it. And here's we even have them in checklist form where you look at these things. And then when you see them do these things, now you can begin to discern, should I pull them closer into my life? Because I want to build a good giver community around me. Everyone should build their own giver community because givers bring with them the 3 W's of a giver: wisdom, wealth, and wellness. By contrast, if I see these other deeds here, I should now begin to discern and respectfully distance myself. Not nasty or rude or insensitive, respectfully distance myself from them, because takers bring with them the 3 D's of takers, which is defeatism, disruption, and destruction. So if I bring those people in closer into my life, I'm going to be stomping out fires that are not of my making. So I share with your listeners, think about the times you stamp out fires each day. Think about the times where your stress level spikes and goes straight through the ceiling. Think about the times where you've just had a conversation with someone. You don't even remember what you talked about anymore, but you do know you have no more energy left. They just drained it all from you. All 3 of those things have one thing in common. There's a name attached to them. And no one's teaching us who to discern. How do we discern? Excuse me. It's like a gentleman the other day. He told me, oh man, this is right on. I love this stuff. He said, I just read a book that said, I need to surround myself with 5 good people. And I said, you're absolutely right. Quick question for you. Which 5? And all of a sudden he stared at me with this blank look on his face. I said, do you see my point? No one's teaching us how to discern which 5. They're all saying you need to do these things, but they're not saying, all right, which 5 should I have and which 5 shouldn't I? If the other guy's not doing it right, should I pull him in close? Because now I'm going to be stomping out fires and I'm going to become collateral damage in what they bring with. And I want to have people around me, and all of us should, that give us energy and we give them energy back, not people that drain our energy. So how do we discern this up front? How do we decide, and what do we look for? What are the things we look for? And that's so astonishing about what we teach right now. So all of those things, that discernment part, was as a direct result of me having those 3 major temporary defeats that each one caused me to write a book, ultimately becoming a course that became what we call Give to Be Great. So when we say giver, we're not labeling a person. We're labeling the deeds of a person. When we say taker, we're not labeling a person. We're labeling the deeds of a person. So what we want to do is we want to be discerning and pull the right people closer into our life and know that we've known what to look for, the actual deeds. And these checklists, we want to give them to your listeners. Free. We want them to have them because they're great. One of the first things they should do is they would go to our website, giversuniversity.com. And on every page, they're going to see a sign up for our newsletter. The newsletter is free. They just put in their first name and their email address, and then they're going to get an email that says, please confirm, because we don't spam anyone. And then we're just going to give them a once-a-week email, just valuable tools. We don't hit their email box and load them up, and I get those things, and next thing you know, I'm unsubscribing, right? So I said, so it's once a week, usually on a Thursday, we send out a newsletter, and it usually has some good tools that they can use in their daily life, from Givers University. Also, as soon as they confirm and what they call whitelist us, right? Add them a part of their contact list. They're going to get the first checklist they'll get immediately is called this. What are the 6 arrows that takers shoot at givers? These are the arrows that takers shoot at givers every day, and they don't even realize they're being shot, and they're walking around bleeding, and they don't even realize it till they see the checklist and they go, oh, I see. I got it.
Yeah, wait a minute. There's one. Yeah. It's the moment you know where you need to look for it, then you start seeing them.
Yeah, exactly. And I used the example. I said, it's funny. I said, when you're getting ready to buy a green car, you never realized how many green cars were on the street before. I said, right? Because we're not paying attention to it. Now, once our attention is on it, now we see all the green cars. The same is true with the 6 arrows. About 2 days later, they'll get a spectacular checklist that's called the 25 Do's. This is a 2-page checklist. It's free. We want them to download it, put it in their pocket, use it to observe others around them. It's 2 pages of it's called the 25 Do's. The 25 things that givers do that you want to be watching for. These are the people you should pull in closer. And the 25 Do's that you should be careful for to begin respectfully distancing, because these people are going to bring things into your life you're not going to want to have in your life. So one of the things we share with people is, subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. We walk our talk. We want to invest. We want to help you. We want to give you as many possible tools that we can. But I want to share something else that I think is critical. Some of your listeners may have a loved one that maybe is being a little takerish. And they want to broach it to them. They want to talk to them about it, but they don't want to hurt their feelings. They love them, right? Someone needs to say this to them, but I don't want to be the one because I love them, right? They're being takerish, and that's clear. Do you know that one of the very best things that they could do is share your podcast with them? And here's why. Because all I have to do is say, you know what? I heard this great podcast. It was very thought-provoking. It made me think. It was very interesting. It wasn't a usual one. The topics were unusual and different. Do me a favor. Listen to this and give me your opinion. See, by using a third party and sharing your podcast with others, who knows, it might open up their mind, because there's a self-assessment part that's built into all the things we teach at Givers University as well. So what happens, they look and they go, you know what, I'm doing that one too. I should watch that myself.
Ooh, that's one. Yeah.
Exactly. So your podcast is a great way to help other people, and they can be a giver by sharing your podcast with others, just as we're going to. Givers University is going to get your podcast out there. We want to, because people need to hear these things. They need to learn these, and they need to learn that discerning in relationships is a skill set. You can learn how to do it. We have to learn what to watch for. And then we learn what to do about it. And that's exactly what we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I'm looking forward to share this with other givers and inspire them to share this as well with, spread it across the world. It's that's how we all grow. That's how we all learn and how we all grow. Um, I maybe this feels a bit like going from jumping from one hoop to the other, but I'm so curious. I just need to know. I really, your three defeats. Give me one at least. I know we're already a bit pressed for time, so maybe we don't have time for all three. But your three defeats, and how did you rise up from them?
Well, I'll give you the first one, and I'll give you the shortened version because it's actually pretty astonishing how it happened. And this one caused me to write the Giver's Mindset book, which was the first course, right? And this had to do with a business partner. While I was being mentored by my business mentor, I also separately started a training company, and I had an equal partner in this company. And we were both 50% owners in this company. The company was doing very well. We were doing trainings for other companies, and we had multiple offices in the Chicagoland area. And back then they had they didn't have the voice answering everything digital the way it is today. I had actually on my desk a box that was called a voice answering machine, and it had 2 cassette tapes in it. On the left side was a cassette tape that you recorded your outgoing message, meaning when someone called you, this is what they heard. And on the other, it was a little cassette tape, for those, it was about that big for those that had never seen one. And that was on the right side of the machine. And that was for the messages coming in. And my machine was voice actually. That meant as long as someone talked, it would record, right? And it was a 60-minute tape. I left home for an hour and a half. And like I said, the business was doing great. It was very prosperous. I mean, everything was excellent. And I was gone for an hour and a half. I came back, and the whole 60-minute tape had been used for my messages. I thought, man, that's crazy. I've only been gone an hour and a half and 60 minutes of message. And I thought, some kids got a hold of it, because once in a while they would, when they realized it would keep recording. And so kids would play and leave messages. I thought, well, that's what happened. Well, was I in for a shock. So I play the whole thing back, and I start playing it. And the entire message was, I could hear that my business partner in the training company, not my mentor, the business partner in the training company that we each had 50% the company in, he was leaving me a message. And back then also, by the way, when you were talking to someone, if someone else was calling them, you could hear a tone in the background letting you know someone's calling you, right? It was like beep, beep, in the background. So as he's leaving me this 15-second message to call him back, I could hear that tone. Someone's calling him at the same time. So he hit his receiver on his phone so fast and said hello. He actually put my machine on call conferencing, and it recorded the whole conversation. I wasn't even home.
Okay.
Yeah. The whole conversation was step by step, the entire plan on how these 2 guys were going to take over the company and kick me out of it, and a company I owned half of.
No way.
The whole plan, step by step. And let me tell you, when you hear it in their own words, that's a whole nother perspective than third party and so said something. I'm hearing it in his words, what these 2. And I thought, wow, what are the odds of this? First of all, number one, he could have called me anytime. No, he called me when I was gone, right? Now, also, when he called, what were the odds of that guy calling him right then? He could have called him another time. And then when they talked, what are the odds of my machine going on recording the whole conversation? And then what are the odds about them having that conversation? They could have talked about golf. It could have been anything.
They could have talked about anything.
But no,
wow.
That whole conversation detailing out what they were going to do. And I got to tell you, I had a sleepless night, to say the least.
I can imagine.
And I had to reach through my training on how to overcome. How do you overcome something like this when you're blindsided by someone who you trust, who's a business partner, right? What do you do? How do you overcome that? So I remember one of the things my business mentor taught me was, you always want to be in responsive mode, not in reaction mode. And he taught me the following. He said, think about the medical community. He said, if you're getting a medical procedure and they say they're reacting, well, that means they're not doing well. He said, but if they're responding to the treatment, that means they're doing better. He said, you want to be in responsive mode, and here's the way you do it. Always have your intellect control your emotions, and you will be in responsive mode.
Difficult. That's difficult.
He said, when your emotions are controlling your intellect, you're in responsive mode. So I had to reach deep, let me tell you, I had to reach deep into my training. We're talking deep. Did I say deep? We're talking deep into my training to get my head around from an intellectual standpoint and be responsive and not reaction. So the next day I told my business partner, the next day after his recording, I said, Jim, his name was Jim. I said, you have to buy me out. I said, we have 7 days. I'm going to do some of my business mentor, which I was anyway. And I said, but we have 7 days. We got to cut an agreement, draft it, cut it. I'm out of here. And that, of course, spoiled all of his plans, because I already knew what his plans were. But I didn't want, at that point, I needed to have him out of my life. I didn't want this private. Yep. I knew then I wanted to exit, right? Yep. So I said, we need to do this. So within 7 days, we did draft a plan. And quite candidly, I got a couple of monthly payments from him on the business. And I thought they were gifts. I actually never even expected to get those because I already knew what kind of person he was. But here's the interesting part. 12 months later, I saw him at an amusement park. I'm still living in Chicago, by the way. Our training company was in Berkeley, Illinois, another suburb of Chicago. Has a lot of suburbs. That was another suburb. And so I saw him at an amusement park. And I knew who it was. I mean, he was my business partner. So but he was far enough away. He didn't see me, but I saw him and I looked at him and watched him. And I had already heard that in 12 months' time, he had filed for personal bankruptcy. He had filed for business bankruptcy. He'd gotten divorced. And when I looked at him, he looked like he had aged, I'm not kidding, 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And that next year, my income was double the previous year, and I was earning more money than ever. So I share with your listeners, when we've had an event or two like that in our life, we begin to realize that things are not always the way they appear. And as my business mentor taught me, remember, there's always more to the story, no matter what. There's always, always, always more to the story. And so when we begin to realize that these adversities, as I interpreted this blind side from my business partner who I trusted implicitly, and how he was going to do this to me, I mean, when I talk about, I would consider this a betrayal, right? To get my head around that and to begin to realize, and then to see in retrospect what happened to him because of his taker deeds, and what happened to me as I just simply listened to my business mentor and utilized that training going forward. And when we've had some events like that, we begin to build our mental and emotional arsenal that, things aren't always the way they look right now at the snapshot in time. So I don't have to over-emotionalize this. I can allow my intellect to rule my emotions, and I can stay in responsive mode no matter what anyone else is saying and doing around me. And that was my very first major temporary defeat that caused me to write the mindset course. And I know that now that will impact literally worldwide as time comes on, millions of people, all because of a betrayal. So every adversity really does, once you set aside the leaves, you look for those seeds and you'll be able to grow on them and build on them, and it'll be much better, and you will actually be thankful. And I share this with you. In life, you cannot have a testimony until you've had your test.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing and so true. And I think life has tests out there for each and every one of us. And the more ambitious you are, the more questions you ask, the more tests you'll get, but also the more testimonials you'll get.
Exactly right. And every one of those great tests have those seeds there. So look at all the seeds that come. It's great. And we actually teach people how to observe tests when they happen, how to recognize tests, and how to reframe them and relabel them in your mind and utilize them so that it's not something. So you're not coming from a position of fear anymore. I'm fearing failure. I'm feeling, what if it doesn't work out? That doesn't exist anymore because it's gone. It just doesn't exist. And then all of a sudden, all these great things happen because it's not because the world changed. It's because of what we changed inside of us. And we're so blessed that we are able to share these skill sets with other people. And I'm just consider myself blessed to be on your great podcast. And I know you've had to reschedule things to have me here. And I want to truly, definitely thank you on behalf of your listeners for having me here.
Oh, well, I think I can truly thank you on behalf of my listeners as well for being here. As I said, I was really looking forward to this podcast, to this recording, to this podcast, because, well, obviously we spoke before, And I just knew your story and how inspiring you can be. So it was truly a pleasure to have you here on the show. So EA, also for me and my viewers, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on a great podcast. And for your listeners, remember to be a giver. A great way to be a giver is share this great podcast with others.
Thank you. And yeah, for the viewers, thank you for. Sorry, I'm so. No, as I said, for the viewers, if you want to learn more about EA, check out giversuniversity.com. And if you want to know what your Givers IQ is, then definitely do the quiz on giversuniversity.info. EA, do you want to give a short introduction about that as well? Do you want to give a short story about that?
Sure. The quiz is a great thing. It's actually only 7 questions. And it's called, what is your givers and takers IQ, awareness IQ? And they'll get an assessment based on their answers. And it's a really nice, quick, simple, and effective. And then that starts the relationship with us as well, because we want to teach people about, the importance of discernment in their relationship. So the quiz, it literally is 4 minutes. It's free. And they'll get a self-assessment, and it's sort of a fun thing to do as well. And as a closing remark and a closing thought for all of your listeners, I'd like to share with them what my mentor said to me. And he said, say this to yourself every day. And for your listeners, I pray that they begin to say these 3 things to themselves every day, and watch what happens in your life when you say, I will never give up, I will keep rising up, and I will always overcome.
I think that is the best possible wrap up for our show today. I can add nothing to that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to say that to myself every day, and I hope my viewers will do so too. Yeah, so finally, to the viewers, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. And as EA said, if you know someone who could truly be inspired by this video, make sure to share it with them as well. And if you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe to the Entrepreneur Suite. And if you want to know more about me, this show, or the Entrepreneur Suite, then go to theentrepreneursuite.com. Thank you all for watching today, and I hope to see you all again soon. Bye, everyone.